I chatted with Miss Cat a little bit earlier on, she said to me that you guys were busy with geometry, that you had done some work on geometry already, and that tonight you were going to go and you were going to practice all your questions. So we're going to put some questions together tonight. But before we do that, okay, Miss Cat wanted me to go through this question with you, and she says we're doing a correction of a sum from the previous lesson. So in the previous lesson, I'm guessing that you had this question that you guys did together, okay? So, and I think that there was maybe a mistake with it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to correct this question tonight. All right. We are busy doing some geometry, okay? I don't know about you guys, but when I'm doing geometry, I sometimes get a little bit confused when they've got a whole lot of different parallel lines, when they've got equal lines, when a whole lot of stuff is going on. So I personally like to use highlighters. Okay. You can't use, or you're not supposed to use a highlighter on your answer page, so where you write your answers, but on your question paper, if your teachers allow you to, you can use color. You can use highlighters, you can use a pencil crayon, you can use a crayon if you really want to, okay? But I like to use highlighters. So whenever I write a maths paper 2, which is geometry, I bring my highlighters in. Make sure I always pack my highlighters. So in this question, before we even go and start looking at numbers and figures and letters, all right, we're going to go and identify the parallel lines first. All right. So I would suggest that you take a ruler quickly or just scribble this drawing out somehow. Okay, try as neatly as possible to draw it on your page. Otherwise, take a screenshot of it so that you've got it and you can refer back to it at a later stage when you're doing the questions. Okay, I'm going to go highlight one set of parallel lines that I have in yellow. So I'm picking up my yellow highlighter and I'm seeing that I see the symbol for parallel lines here. I see this line here is parallel to this line over here. How did I work that out? How do I know that those lines are parallel to each other? Well, guys, if I'm going to go use my magic pen to show you very quickly, whenever you see a symbol that looks like that, it's got an arrow on it. Okay, so if it's got a little arrow on it, right, that means that that line is going to be parallel to the one that's got the same number of arrows on it. Okay, so there we go. We've got one set of parallel lines. All right. Now, when I'm looking at those parallel lines, I can already see that some stuff is coming into focus here by looking at those parallel lines. Okay. Remember that when you've got parallel lines, there's 3 little letters that you can refer to whenever you have parallel lines. And I'm going to go very quickly and just add a page here to talk to you about these 3 little letters. Okay, all right, I know that you've already done these with your teacher, Miss Cat. Okay, but let's give ourselves a reminder very quickly. We're talking about 3 little letters, and those 3 little letters are as follows. They are F, U, and some teachers use Z, all right? Some teachers use Z. I like to use N. Okay, so I like to use N, but tonight we are going to use Z to help ourselves out. F, U, and Z. All right, so hopefully you've seen that before. Hopefully you've been through that with your teacher, Miss Cat, before. Okay, I'm going to make this line a little bit longer. All right, what do those 3 little letters represent? Well, if I'm looking at the letter F, okay, I can see that on the letter F, this line, all right, let's make it a little bit thicker. So this line and this line are parallel to each other. So whenever I have lines, okay, whenever I have lines that look like the shape of a letter F, okay, right, it means that that letter stands for corresponding angles. So the letter F stands for corresponding angles. Okay, the letter F stands for corresponding angles. Guys, how do I remember that? How do I remember that F is corresponding angles? Well, a little cheat here for you guys is that if we go back into our beautiful creative pen, okay, a little cheat here for you. Do you see these two letters of the R? I always think of those as forming my F on the bottom. So corresponding angles is the letter F. Okay. And how do we remember that? We can make an F with the two R's in it. Okay, let's move to the next one. The next one is the letter U. So the next one there, I've got the letter U, and if I'm looking at the letter U, I can see that on the letter U, I've got this line in the letter U and this line in the letter U that are parallel to each other. Okay, so those two lines are parallel to each other. Who can tell me in the chat, for those people that have seen Fun before or Fuzz, who can tell me? Oh, I see somebody with their hand up. That's cool. Okay. Malebo, do you know what that letter U, which kind of angles they represent? Hi, Malebo.
Represent. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. They represent?
Hello.
Hi.
Represent
Give me your answer. Do you agree they are co-interior angles? Okay, I think maybe Malebo might be, her connection might not be very good. So when we have the letter U, we've got co-interior angles. Okay, so the angles are on the inside, co-interior angles. And the last letter we've got there is the letter Z. And if I put my parallel lines on the letter Z, there they are. There's my parallel lines. Okay, all right. That means that I'm looking at what kind of angles. What kind of angles are the Z? What kind of angles are the Z? Well done. Alternates angles. So those ones are alternate angles. The letter Z, it's the one that's right at the end of the alphabet. It's the one that you never remember. It's the alternate, okay, the alternate letter. So Z are alternate angles. Okay, so we've got our F, we've got our U, we've got our Z. Now we're going to go back and we're going to look at the drawing that we had there tonight. So there we go. So at the moment, we've highlighted those two lines, okay? And so what should start coming alive to you here, is that I've got an angle that's sitting on this parallel line over here, and it's sitting on that parallel line over there. Okay, so if I'm looking at what kind of letter that makes, that one clearly makes the letter F. For those people who can't see it, let's go draw it very quickly. Okay, here is my letter F. It's like a backwards letter F. Okay, so it's like a backwards letter F. All right, so if I've got the letter F represents corresponding angles. And what do we know about corresponding angles, grade 9s? We know that corresponding angles are equal. So that means that I can say 3A plus 30 degrees is equal to 6A minus 60 degrees. Okay. So I want to remind you about something about geometry. All right. I call geometry the sob sister. Okay, geometry is like your sob sister in maths. All right. Why is it a sob sister? Okay, what is a sob sister? All right. A sob sister is somebody, when you tell them something, they're like, oh, but why? Why is it like that? Why? Where you're like, oh, it's so nice and hot today. And they're like, oh, but why is it so hot? I hate it when it's hot. It's sweaty. It's okay. All right. Or when you're like, oh, I love the rain. It's so nice. You can cuddle up with a blanket. And then they're like, yeah, but why? Why is it? You know those kind of people. Okay, talk to me in the chat. Tell me, do you know those people? Do you know those sob sisters? Have you heard of a sob sister before? Yeah? Nobody's heard of a sob sister. Okay, yeah, I see some people nodding. I see some people with their hands up. Yeah, Okay, so we know what a sob sister is. All right. So, geometry is the sob sister of maths. All right. Geometry, every single time you write something down on the page, so every time you tell something to geometry in maths, all right, you need to think of it in your head, okay? You're going to hear Miss Kirsty saying, but why? But why? All right, and you're going to hear me saying that a lot tonight. So every single time we write something down on the page, we have to tell them, but why? Okay. So in this case, these two angles are equal. Why are they equal? Okay, you've got two options on how to write this. Either some teachers make you write ... and put your reasons next to it. I like to put my reasons in a bracket. Either way, not a problem. So the reason why is because of corresponding angles. Oh dear, it's not letting me write the full word. Sorry guys, let's write it nicely. Okay, and for those of you who struggle with spelling, I struggle with spelling personally, you are allowed to use abbreviations in geometry. So we've got angles, comma, okay, all right, corresponding angles, comma, and we need to tell them that EF is parallel to GH. Okay, so every time we give a reason to the subsister, we also need to give her the full reason. Because if you don't give her the full reason, she's going to come back accurate. But why? But why? But why? All right. So you need to make sure that you give the full reason to geometry. All right. Now that I've done that, now that I've got that written down, do you agree that that's not algebra? And you know how to do algebra. We've been doing algebra for a while. Okay. I know the last time I saw you guys, we did some algebra. So I know that your algebra skills are up to scratch. Okay, so we need to put letters on the one side, numbers on the other side. Okay, in my case here, I don't like dealing with negatives. So I always like to say to myself, I'm starting with my letter A's, all right? I want to know where are they bigger. So I can see I've got 6A on this side. I'm going to bring this 3A across, and when I bring it across, it's going to become minus 3A. All right. I've got 30 degrees on this side of the equal line. Okay. When I bring the 60 degrees across, it's going to become plus 60 degrees. Oh dear, our pen is doing all sorts of weird things. Sorry, guys. All right. So 30 plus 60. Trust me, you want to do that on your calculator. Okay. What happens in a test or exam? When you're doing homework, fine. When in a test or exam, you lose your mind, okay? You start thinking all sorts of weird things, all right? So do that on your calculator. Find the answer on your calculator. 30 plus 60 equals 90. I know you guys know that it's 90 degrees. I know that you do. I'm not saying that you don't, but do it on your calculator to check. 6 minus 3 gives you 3, okay? What do I need to do to each side now? I need to divide each side by 3. So I'm going to be left with, therefore, A is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, so we've got A. A is cool. A is all done. Now we need to go and get the next letter. So the next letter I see here, okay, the next letter I see here is the letter B. Now, what can I tell about that letter B? What can I tell about letter B? B is directly opposite to this angle over here, 6A minus 60. And when you've got angles that are directly opposite, there's a special kind of word for those angles. They're called vertically opposite angles. They share a vertex. So we're going to go say, okay, if I'm looking for B, B is going to be equal to 6A minus 60 degrees, and in a bracket, because why? The reason why is vert up angles. Okay, if your teacher wants you to rewrite the word, write all the words out, write all the words out, all right? My spelling, not great. I like that we can use abbreviations in maths. It's my favorite. Okay, moving on. So I've got B is equal to, do I know what A is? Yes, I do. A is equal to 30 minus 60 degrees. I go and put that on my calculator and I get B is equal to 120 degrees. All right, guys, I hope you got that one. Okay, I hope that you've got B. Okay. Next one. Now, I am looking for C. So here is C over here. There's C over there. All right, there's C over there. Now, for C, okay, I'm seeing that I've got B and C are like inside of angles, so they kind of look like they're co-interior, okay? But for them to truly be co-interior, what do I need to go and say? I need to go and say, hold up, I see another pair of parallel lines. I see that this line is parallel to that line. And because those lines are parallel, it means that now angle B and angle C are lying on those parallel lines on the inside, which means that they are co-interior. Okay, right. I know co-interior angles add up to 180 because we're doing this one in the beginning, guys. I will let you answer some questions a bit later on, I promise, but we want to get through this one quickly. So I know that angle B plus angle C is going to give me 180 degrees. How do I know that? Co-interior angles. But why? Why are they co-interior? Why? The reason why they're co-interior is because AB is parallel to CD. All right. Some teachers will say to you, you have to say co-interior angles supplementary. That's perfect. If your teachers have said that to you, perfect. Put that in. Co-interior angles supplementary, comma, AB parallel to CD. Okay. We already know what angle B is. Angle B was 120 degrees plus C equals 180 degrees. All right. I take 120 to the other side and I get 180 degrees minus 120 degrees, which means C must be equal to 60 degrees. Okay, and the last letter that I'm looking for is letter D. There's letter D over there, right? I see letter D is lying on that green line. Okay, so it's lying on that green line. I just went and found angle C. So the most useful thing to do is when you've just found an angle, try and see what the relationship is to the next angle that we're looking for. And if we're looking at that angle, what can we see? We can see that what letter have we got there? Okay, I'm going to go and draw it in there for you guys. The letter that I've got there by D and C is, if I do, oopsie daisy, let's make it a bit thicker so we can see a bit nicer. Okay, we've got a letter, that is either an N or it's a Z, whichever one your teachers have taught you, okay, but that's our letter. So that means that I know angle C is going to be equal to angle D, but why? Why is that true? Why is that happening? Alternate angles, comma, okay, what makes them alternate? Because EF is parallel to GH. So angle D is equal to 60 degrees. Right, I'm going to go highlight all my correct answers there for you. So there was angle A, here was angle B, here is angle C, and here is angle D. Okay. All right.
One of the reasons you wrote vertically opposite angles, but you didn't write the parallel lines. Why did you not have parallel lines?
That's a very good question, Ms. Simone. Okay, so vertically opposite angles, guys, vertically opposite angles don't need to have parallel lines. Okay, what does vertically opposite angles mean? It means that, all right, those two angles are sharing the same vertex. That's what vertically opposite angles mean, okay? That the angles are sharing the same vertex. That's what it's coming from. Vertex means a corner, okay? That's where it's coming from. So vertically opposite angles don't have anything to do with parallel lines. You don't have to worry about parallel lines with vertically opposite angles. What you need to worry about is I don't know, okay, the English is not doing so well tonight. Sorry, I'm a maths teacher. Are those angles sharing the same vertex? Are they all coming from the same corner? Okay, and then if they're opposite each other, it means that they are equal. That's what vertically opposite means. Don't need to have parallel lines. Mr. Morin, does that explain it?
Yes, it
Awesome.
does. Also on that point, just so everybody is on the same page, the same thing applies with angles on a straight line, correct?
That is correct. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. Good. Thank you, guys. Okay, very good questions. Very, very good questions. Right. Let's, oh, again, screen stop sharing. It just doesn't want to do maths. I think it's had enough. It's being a bit of a sob sister tonight. Why? Why? It's Thursday. Why? Well, because it's the grade 9 maths lesson. We're doing our maths. Okay, let's get this sharing again for you guys. All right. So that is where we are up to. We've just finished that question. I am going to answer any questions anybody may have, but what I want to do first is I want to show you guys the next drawing. So here is the next drawing for you very quickly. Okay, there's the next drawing for you. I see some people straining their eyes to try and see it, so make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it a bit bigger for you. All right, so there's the next drawing. Either you're going to screenshot it or you're going to go write it on your page. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I see that I have a hand up, Ms. Marita. I'm going to answer that question in the meantime. Let's see. Oma, you have your hand up. Do you have a question? Oma, you should be able to unmute. There we go. Hi.
Hi, ma'am. No, I wanted to ask something, but then you already answered my question already. So thank you.
I'm so glad. You are welcome. No problem, Oma. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, guys. So let us have a look at this next question. In this next question, just like I said to you guys, okay, I like it when, before I even start the question, before I look at what it's saying, okay, I like to understand what's happening first. So in this drawing, all right, I've got a triangle, okay, and I can see that I have some parallel lines. So to me, whenever I have parallel lines in geometry, I like to pick up a colored pen or a pencil or a highlighter or something so I can see what's going on. So here we go. Let's go pick up my highlighter. Oh, here we go. Right. I'm highlighting my parallel line. I'm highlighting my parallel line. How do I know those are parallel lines? I know those are parallel lines because they have arrows on them. Okay. All right. Now that I've got my parallel lines, that means what? That means that I now can see whether I've got an F, I've got a U, I've got a Z. Okay. Before I carry on with my parallel lines, I can also see that in this drawing, I've also got a triangle, all right? And if I remind myself of triangles, okay, and all the different properties of triangles, the one property that's really, really popular for when you're doing geometry is this one. So it's this one where we've got these lines over here. What do those lines over there mean? Those little lines over there mean that exactly it's a isosceles triangle. And if I have an isosceles triangle, it means that this angle is going to be equal to that angle. All right. So already some stuff is coming to life to us because we've got equal sides of a triangle, which makes that little triangle an isosceles triangle. Okay, so angle E is 75 degrees because it's opposite to an equal side. So what do I know about the other angle? It's also going to be equal to 75 degrees. Okay, right, now let's go have a look. So my first question says, Calculate the size of angle H1. Before, I didn't even need to look at the question because I knew it was coming. All right. And I already know what the answer is going to be because we worked it out and we brought the geometry to life. So I already know that angle H1, I'm going to go draw it up here. Angle H1 is going to be equal to 75 degrees. How do I know that? Some teachers will tell you that you can write isosceles triangle. Guys, I don't like using that as a reasoning, okay? And not all schools accept that, and not all examiners accept that as well, all right? So be careful with using isosceles triangle, all right? The correct reasoning to use for this one is angles, opposites, equal, sides are equal. So if you've got a triangle and you've got equal sides, all right, then you know that the angles, opposites, the equal sides are equal. All right, so you have a triangle, it's got equal sides. Okay, the angles, opposites, the equal sides are equal. Okay, so that is the reason that we're going to use. Right, so H1, 75 degrees. Moving to our next question. Give a reason why. So it's not telling me to solve for angle G, okay? It's saying give a reason why angle G is equal to angle H1. So why would this angle, angle G, be equal to angle H1? Well, if you're sitting in the exam and you're super confused, well, now you've got a highlighter on there. Hold up a second. Angle G is on the highlighted line. Angle H is on the highlighted line. So I'm going to go drag out my beautiful, colorful pencil again, or pen. All right. Here is my parallel line. There is my parallel line. And it makes the letter F. What do we know about the letter F? Well done, people in the chat. Well done, guys. The letter F is corresponding angles. So give a reason why angle G would be equal to angle H1. Well, the reason why is because of corresponding angles, comma, because what's going to happen when you tell your subsister the reason? She's going to say, why again? All right, whenever you've got corresponding, co-interior, alternate, think to yourself, why? So corresponding angles, FG is parallel to EH. If you don't put those parallel lines in, you're not going to get the marks. So make sure you've got the full reason in there. All right. Is there anyone who has a question on this drawing? Are we all good? We are so quiet tonight. No one's got any questions for me. All good. Okay, no hands. Oh, there we go. A question, thank goodness. Right. Mikhail, is that how I say your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
fantastic. Could we also say for the first question, ma'am, could we also say H1 equals 75 because DEF equals to 75, so therefore DHG would also equal to 75.
So we've got to be careful because if you're saying this, if you're saying DEF, is that what you mean, hey? When you say DEF. DEF, if we draw that DEF quickly, if we go draw that DEF, I'm going to go put a highlighter line on it in green. Here is the DEF. What's DEF? DEF is a straight line. So just be careful. DEF is a straight line. So if we go use DEF as a reasoning, then we're saying to the people, oh, hold on, DEF is a straight line, DHG is a straight line, and your teacher's going to be like, what reason is that? You know what I'm saying? They're going to get a little bit confused, okay? I would suggest, Mikhail, when you see a triangle, all right? When you see a triangle and it's got those little lines on it, that's your go-to there, okay? That's your go-to. because those are the lines. Put your fingers up in the air and you tell yourself, angles, opposites, equal, sides, equal. Okay, that's the reasoning you're going to want to use for that one. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense
Yes.
why it can't be DEF, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Well done. Thank you so much for the question. It was a good question. Okay, we are moving on to our next question. Again, remember, a good idea to maybe take a screenshot and then also draw it very quickly. Okay, so let's have a look at our next question. All right, so this one, it's already given us the question, which I don't like to read the question first. I like to draw on my drawing first, but we'll read through the question so long. It says, in the diagram, AB is, and it's got those two little lines there. Those two little lines mean parallel. So AB is parallel to CD, okay? And BPT is equal to 118 degrees. Let's go draw that in. I see the symbol for parallel. It means I want to bring out my highlighter. So AB, there's line AB, is parallel to CD. There's line CD. Okay? And then they've gone and told me, and they've even drawn it in for me, very kind of them, that angle BPT, okay, is equal to 118 degrees. So there it is. So I've just made it come to life for myself, so now I can see it. All right. Calculate the value of x and y. Calculate the value of x and y. I'm starting with x. I like to go in alphabetical order. Teachers like to do that as well. It just makes your life a little bit easier when you're solving for the angles. So that's another exam tip. Make sure that you always solve your angles in alphabetical order. So I want to find x. I see that x is sitting on my parallel line, okay? I see x is sitting on my parallel line. I see 118 is also sitting on the parallel line. And if I go and I draw magical pen across these, I can see that those letters are on the inside of the parallel lines, okay? And that they form the letter of a U. So they're forming the letter of a U. So we're going to go tell ourselves that angle x plus 118 degrees is going to be equal to 180 degrees. Why? Why? Good. Siamtanda, good. Interior angles, comma, AB is parallel to CD. Well done. Then I'm going to go stick that on my calculator. So I'm going to say x is equal to 180 minus 118 degrees, and I get 62 degrees. So there's x. X is done. Now I'm looking for the letter y. What do I see about the letter y? It's that special one that we went over in the very first question, the special one. Is the letter x and the letter y, are they sharing the same vertex? Are they in the same corner, the same letter there? Okay, yes, they are. They have the same vertex. What else can I see about x and y? I can see that they are opposite, which means that angle y is going to be equal to angle x. Reason, vert, op, angles, which means angle y equals 62 degrees. Okay, right. I think we are moving on to our very last question for this evening. So I hope that you have that one down. I hope there's no questions on that one. Let's have a look at our very last question for this evening. Okay. So it says, in the figure above, AB is parallel to TC. I stop because I've seen parallel lines. All right, I stop because I've seen parallel lines. Okay, when I see parallel lines, what must I do? I must highlight them. All right, guys, I see people asking me to scroll up. I will scroll up, I promise. Straight after this question, I'll scroll up to each question and you can take a screenshot. I promise. Okay. Promise, promise, promise. All right. So I've highlighted my parallel lines. C1 is equal to 65 degrees. Now they didn't go and write that in for me. So let's go write it in instead. Okay. So C1, here's C1, and that's equal to 65 degrees. And then they say C2, which is this angle, is equal to 43 degrees. Now they want us to go and calculate the size of angle A. So here is angle A. Angle B1, there's angle B1. And angle B2, there's angle EB2. Right. Instead of overwhelming myself and being like, oh, I'm going to go find everything all together. We're going to go slowly. We're going to go slowly, okay? So we're going to start with angle A. Let's look at angle A. Angle A is lying on a parallel line, is it not? Do you agree with me? Angle A is lying on a parallel line. So here is the parallel line that angle A is lying on. If I move down and I move along the other parallel line, what am I noticing? What am I noticing? I'm noticing good alternate angles because I have the letter Z or I have the letter N. Okay. So that means that I'm going to go say to myself, angle A is going to be equal to 43 degrees. Reason, alternate angles, AB is parallel to CT or TC, same thing. All right, so angle A is done. I'm going to go draw it in for myself, 43 degrees. Now I want to go to find the size of angle B1, everybody. So there's angle B1 over there, angle B1. Do I notice that angle B1 is lying on a parallel line? Yes, I do. There's my angle B1 lying on a parallel line. There's the other line that it's lying on. And hey, look at that. Look what else I noticed. I've got another parallel line going that way. All right, what letter is that? What letter is that? That's the letter F. Good. And letter F, what does letter F represent? Which kind of angles does letter F represent, guys? What does letter F represent? Good. Corresponding angles. Nice. Well done, grade 9s. Okay, so I'm going to have angle B1 is going to be equal to 65 degrees. Reason, corresponding angles. Why are they corresponding? Because AB is parallel to TC. All right. So this one here was 65 degrees. And finally, the last angle that I have to go find is this angle over here, angle B2. Well, what do I notice about angle B2? Angle B2 and angle B1 are lying on what? They are lying on a straight line. They are lying on a straight line, which means that, okay, which means that angle B1 plus angle B2 will be equal to 180 degrees because the angles that lie on a straight line are equal to 180 degrees. So we're going to say here, angles on straight line. So angle B2 will be equal to 180